Good morning and good afternoon to everyone that has joined this call. If you can hear me, please, just give us some minutes for others to join. Give us a few minutes so that others can join the call. So we should start this meeting any moment from now. So we're waiting a little bit for others to join. Just a few minutes. Thank you. Okay, good morning again, and then to those that are in the morning, and then good afternoon to those that are in the afternoon. Yes, you're welcome to today's webinar. Thank you all for joining. If you can hear me, please kindly drop a message in the chat box. I need to know if everybody can hear me. If you can hear me, kindly drop a message in the chat box so I can. Okay, good. That's fine. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to today's EduQuality webinar, EduQuality alumni webinar on inclusive education, focusing on supporting learners with diverse needs using local resources. Yeah, my name is Oluwatosin Ilakin, and I am a senior education specialist with Opportunity International in Nigeria. It is an honor to be the moderator for today's session. Right before we begin, I would like to confirm again if everyone can still hear me. If you can still hear me, okay. All right. A special welcome to our colleagues joining us from DRC, from Democratic Republic of Congo. Please note that live French interpretation is available throughout this webinar. And to access this French interpretation, kindly click on the interpretation icon at the bottom of your screen and select French as your preferred language. So you should check the lower part of your screen if you're using your phone, and if you're using a laptop, you can check the upper part of your screen. You're going to see the interpretation icon. So you can tap on it, then select French as your preferred language. Oh, good. So if you're experiencing any form of difficulty in doing this, kindly let us know in the chat box, and our technical team will support you in getting this done. So I want to believe that our participant from GRC can access the French interpretation. I want to believe that you can access the French interpretation. So please, if you're having any form of challenges, kindly drop a message in the chat box, then someone would attend to you. Okay, good. Before we proceed, I would like to share a few housekeeping reminders to help us have a smooth and engaging session. And the first is that, okay, good. The first is that I would like that everyone's microphone is muted unless you are invited to speak. Please keep your mic muted. We also encourage you to use the chat box throughout the webinar to share your thoughts, your experiences, and learning gains as the panelists are sharing their experiences with us. Also note that if you have a question for any of our panelists during the discussion, kindly click the Q&A icon on your screen. Please, you can check your screen. You're going to see Q&A icon on your screen and type your question there. This is going to help us organize your questions and ensure we don't miss any of your questions. Okay. Sorry if you're having issues clicking the interpretation icon. Our technical team is going to attend to you. Don't worry, they are reading your messages in the chat box. So I'm going to say this again. If you have any question as the panelists are sharing their experiences with us, please check your screen. You're going to see a Q&A icon. Just tap on it, and after tapping on it, you're going to have access to a board where you can type your questions. Right. Okay. I also like to let you know that this webinar is being recorded, and both the recording and the presentation slides that will be used throughout this webinar will be shared with everyone that signed up for this meeting at the end of this session. So you have nothing to worry about. Finally, we encourage everyone to participate actively and also learn from one another. So thank you everyone for joining and helping us create a productive learning environment. As many of you might know, EduQuality has supported thousands of schools over the years. in strengthening teaching quality, school leadership, child protection, and continuous school improvement. This webinar is the first of its kind in our efforts to strengthen the EduQuality alumni community of practice across Africa. And our goal is to ensure that learning, collaboration, and peer support continue long after the program implementation. If you are not yet connected to an EduQuality community of practice, please reach out to an education specialist after this webinar. It is only together that we can continue learning, sharing, and supporting one another, because stronger communities of practice lead to stronger schools and better outcomes for every child. Before we go into the overview of today's webinar, we would like to get to know our audience a little better. So we have prepared a short poll that should now appear on your screen. Kindly take 1 minute to complete it. So a poll is going to show on your screen. Kindly take just 1 minute. Wow. Bahati, so sorry. I'm seeing your message. So sorry. Our technical team is going to work on this so that the French interpretation would work so well. So sorry about that. Yeah. So so kindly check your screen. You should see a poll. A poll should pop up right now. So we expect that you complete this poll, because it's really going to help us in today's discussion. So we need to know who, we need to know our participants. We want to get to know you. So kindly complete this poll. Let's take the next 1 minute to take this poll. Yeah, it should be showing on your screen now. We have 6 questions in there. So kindly complete this. And as soon as you're done, kindly type done in the chat box as soon as you're done. Type done as soon as you're done completing the poll. The form should be showing on your screen. Please check your screen. You will find the poll there. The poll is on your screen. I can see mine on my screen. So check the poll on your screen. Oh, okay. It's not on your screen. Okay. Can you also check your chat box? Okay. Sorry, Nathaniel, can you help us repost the poll again? If you can hear me, Nathaniel. Quite a number of people are not seeing the poll. Okay, so try and check again, please. Try and check again. The poll has been reshared again, so try and check. If you can see the poll, can you confirm if you can see it now? All right. So while we try to fix this, I think we can continue. We're going to come back to this again. We're going to come back to this. So while we try to fix this, I'm still going to come back to this. Let's just continue, please. All right. You have nothing to worry about. So we're going to reshare the poll again while we continue with this webinar. Oh, good, good. Some persons have been able to complete the poll. Thank you, thank you. So for others that are unable to complete the poll at the moment, we're going to come back to that. So let's continue, please. All right. Today's webinar, good. Thank you, thank you. I can see that some persons have completed their the poll already. That's interesting. All right, let's continue. Today's webinar is on inclusive education, and our focus is supporting learners with diverse needs using local resources. Supporting learners with diverse needs using local resources. I need to say this. Every classroom is diverse. Every classroom is diverse, right? And every child is unique. As school leaders and educators, we know that we encounter learners with different strengths, abilities, learning styles, backgrounds, and challenges. Yet, many schools continue to ask the same important question. Many schools continue to, and what's the question? How do we effectively support every learner, especially when resources are limited? That's the question that virtually everybody keep asking. How do we effectively support every learner, knowing that resources are limited? Today's discussion will explore practical, affordable, and context-specific strategies that schools can immediately adopt using the resources already available within their communities. And during this 90-minute session, we are strongly hoping that everyone that has joined would discover practical, inclusive education strategies, learn from real experiences shared by fellow school leaders, identify locally available resources that can support learners with diverse needs, strengthening collaboration through communities of practice, and lastly, can be implemented in your schools. You see, we are privileged to have some distinguished education professionals who have wealth of experience in inclusive education, school leadership, and teacher professional development. And it is my great pleasure to introduce our distinguished panels. The first of them is Miss Nafuja Jacqueline. She is actually the head of education specialist in Uganda with Opportunity International. If you can hear me, Ms. Nafuja, kindly unmute yourself to share one or two sentences about yourself.
Good morning, Nigeria and West Africa. Good morning, East Africa. Good morning, Central Africa. My name is Jacqueline Nafuja, and I am an education specialist working in the central part of Uganda. I come in with experience supporting inclusive learning environments for 13 years now. I am happy to share my experience, my learnings, and hopefully they can be able to support some school owners here. I basically support colleagues on the team and a great number of schools around Uganda for the past 6 years with Opportunity. And yeah, this is my area of passion. It's my area of joy. And I am happy to report that I am seeing impact, and I am seeing schools moving towards providing more inclusive environments and supporting learners to bloom to their full potential. Thank you, Tosin. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're glad to have you here. All right. Our second panelist is Miss Perry Kaluki. She's an education specialist in Kenya with Opportunity International. If you can hear me, Miss Perry, can you unmute yourself and share a few sentences about yourself?
Thank you so much, Tosin. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, based on where you are coming from. It is a pleasure to join you today and to connect with colleagues from different countries who share commitment to improving education opportunities for all learners. My name is Peris Kaluki, and I'm education specialist with Opportunity Finance based in Nairobi, Kenya. And for the past 13 years, I have had the privilege of working alongside school leaders and teachers, supporting efforts to strengthen teaching and learning in school. So I'm excited to be part of today's conversation as we explore practical and affordable strategies for making our schools more inclusive using the resources that we already have. So I look forward to learning from your experiences as I share my experiences and ideas that can help us create learning environments where every child has the opportunity to thrive and succeed. Thank you. Back to you, Tosin.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Paris. So our third panelist is a school leader from Ghana, and her name is Mrs. Faustina Agemanzoa, the school proprietress of Future Jewel School. If you can hear me, ma, kindly unmute yourself and share a few words with us.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are joining us from. My name is Mrs. Faustina Jumendria, a school leader in Ghana. My passion is to ensure that every child gets quality education, irrespective of any differences that child may have. I'm excited to be given this opportunity to be part of this seminar. I believe and hope by the end of this seminar, every school leader and every teacher will implement and improve special education in their schools. Thank you, Tosin.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Okay. All right. Thank you to thanks to our panelists for accepting our invitation and also agreeing to share their expertise with us today. We're excited, really excited to learn from your experiences. Without taking much of our time, I will now invite our first panelist to begin today's discussion. And our first panelist that the first panelist that I'll be inviting is Miss Paris Kaluki. So, Miss Perry Kaluki, would like you to share an overview of what inclusive learning or inclusive education is. We would like to know, I mean, what's the meaning of inclusive learning or inclusive education? Over to you, Miss Perry.
Thank you, Tosin. So before we begin, I would like to invite you to pause and reflect for a moment. So think about your school. Is there one learner who struggles to fully participate in class? Perhaps it's a learner with disability, a learner with learning difficulties, a learner who needs more time to master new concepts, or a gifted learner who needs greater challenge, or perhaps a learner facing social or emotional challenges from home into the classroom every day. Now, think of one small change that might help that learner participate a little more. Thank you for taking that moment to reflect. Whoever came into your mind, that learner is exactly who inclusive education is designed for. So what do we mean when we talk about inclusive learning? What comes into your mind as an educator, as a teacher, as a school proprietor, when you hear the word inclusive education, inclusive learning? So inclusive education or inclusive learning, I want like to say that many of us, when we hear the word inclusive education, the first thing that often goes straight to our mind is learners with disabilities. While learners with disabilities are an important focus of inclusion, inclusive education is much broader than that. It includes every learner who, for one reason or the other, struggles to fully participate, and the learners that you just reflect on a moment ago. So inclusive learning, it's an approach that ensures every learner, regardless of their ability, gender, language, background, socioeconomic status, or learning need, feels welcomed, valued, seen, participates meaningfully, and has the opportunity to reach their full potential. And we are talking about every learner. So inclusive learning stems from one simple belief that every learner can learn. But not every learner learns in the same way, at the same pace, or with the same support. I want you to imagine you are buying shoes for every learner in your class. Would you buy the same size for everyone? Of course not. So the same is true in learning. No one size fits all. So as school leaders and teachers and educators, our role is not to expect every learner to fit in one way of teaching. Instead, we create schools where teaching adapts to meet learners' different needs. And I often summarize inclusive education in 3 simple statements. Every learner belongs, every learner can learn, and every learner deserves the support that they need to succeed. So that is where inclusive begins, not with expensive resources, but with a growth mindset and commitment from us educators. Thank you. Back to you, Tosin.
Thank you so much, Miss Perry. Yeah, that was really profound. Seriously, you you ended your conversation. I mean your experience that you just shared. So I would say that uh inclusive education. I mean, this is my own learning again. I believe everyone is learning just the way I am learning. You had shared with us that every child can learn, but every child will not learn the same way. So there's no point comparing. Instead of comparing kids not learning the same way, we should actually devise a means so that every child is all included. And that's really fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much. We have a lot to learn from you today. Don't worry, I still have some other questions for you. So the next question still goes to Miss Perry. Now that you've given us an overview of what inclusive education is, we would like you to share some practical strategies that you have used to support learners with diverse needs using locally available resources. Because as school leaders, the educators that are on this call, they want to know what are the practical strategies that you have used to support learners with diverse needs, since resources are limited. So we would like to hear from your experience. Over to you, Ms. Perry. Hello. Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
Welcome.
thank you so much, Tosin. So we want to look at the practical strategies that as an educator, as a teacher, that I have seen work when it comes to supporting learners with that need additional support.
Sorry, Miss Perry, I didn't get that. Can you recall again? I think you're speaking, but your mic is muted. Can you hear me? You are still muted. Miss Perry, your mic is still muted. We can hear you. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can hear you now. Yes, it's perfect. We can hear you now.
Okay.
All right. So my question, I'm not sure majority of our participants heard what you said just now. So the question is this. So we want you to share some practical strategies that you've used to support learners with diverse needs using locally available resources. So you can go ahead and share with us now. Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. You can go ahead and speak. We can hear you. All right. While I leave Miss Perry to sort the mic, all right, I will call on the next panelist. I mean to share some of our experiences with us. Okay, Miss Jacqueline, if you can hear me, I would like you to discuss some effective ways. Oh, before then, I would like to hear your thoughts on the second question. Please share some practical strategies that can be used to support learners with diverse needs using locally available resources.
Hey,
Yeah.
I hope you can hear me. I'm confirming that you can hear me, Torsin.
Yes, I can hear you. I believe
All
everyone can
right.
hear you too.
There's a lot of practical strategies that one can use to support learners with needs. We usually like to focus a lot on the financial gravity of supporting learners with diverse needs, but I think that we can get a lot from creativity. So one of the things that one of the practical strategies that can be used is the learning spaces. Ensure that the learning spaces that you have in your classrooms are spacious, they're flexible, and children are able to easily move around when they are sitting or when they're in class, so that we can avoid having the same sitting arrangement over and over again. This can support learners who have challenges sitting down, concentrating. So it gives them enough space to move around and also enough oxygen and enough air. That is one of the things we can use. You can also have a visual classroom. I know that you already have displays in your classrooms, you have charts, you have maybe you have birthdays displayed or something like that. But to encourage more children who learn visually, because we all learn differently, you could have a timetable that has pictures to support children who have challenges understanding, or who still have challenges understanding what is written. You can add a picture, for example. If it is time for break tea, you can have break tea with a picture. If it's time for lunch, have lunch with a plate of food, maybe. If it's time to go home, support learners with a picture showing learners going home. So this can support them to know that the routine, how the routine flows. And it also keeps you as a teacher or a school owner organized. So you can also have another strategy is the teaching and learning material. Really, we don't have to source expensive material when we have materials in our environment. For example, teach your learners to recycle, to reuse, and also to support the environment by bringing in recyclable materials that can then be used as learning aids. For example, learners can bring in bottle tops, plastic bottle tops, or the bottles, even the bottles themselves, to help them act as counters. They can bring used straws, they can pick flowers, they can pick pebbles. You could also have flashcards as a teacher when you are explaining to the learners. So these learning materials also contribute a lot to the learning process. Thank you very much. We shall add more as we continue. Over to you, Tosin.
Yeah, thank you so much, Miss Jacqueline. Yeah. So I have some follow-up questions for you. And the first is this. I would like you to share with us some effective ways that teachers can identify and respond to different learning needs in resource-constrained environments, because majority of our school leaders, their schools are existing in low-income communities, right, where they have constrained, where they have limited resources, right, because their schools are existing in constrained environments, right? So we'd like you to share some effective ways that teachers can identify. First is to identify and then respond to different learning needs in such environments. Over to you, Ms. Jacqueline.
Thank you, Tosin. Usually the focus is on the financial bits, but I wish that we could focus more on creativity of the teachers. So these are some of the effective ways that teachers can use to support learners. Number one, teachers need to observe. You observe how your learners participate in class. That is one way you can identify different patterns of specific learners. So a learner has come in up happy at the start of the term, and then suddenly the learner is withdrawn. The teacher has to be able to identify. This takes us back to individual teaching. Focus on teaching all the learners in your class, not the class. If you have 40 learners in your class, you need to have individual relationships with those learners as a teacher. This supports you to observe their behavior, it supports you to focus on observation in their learning progress, and this helps the teacher to know that so-and-so is struggling with such a thing. And then you also need to assess. Most times we think that assessments are only the written down assessments where learners have to sit, answer questions, end of term, mid-term, or end of quiz, but also continue a certain assessment of learners. For example, you have to assess how your learner answers questions during the lessons. How does your learner perform in group discussions? How is their performance in outdoor activities? Because the fact that we learn differently, we ought to have various ways of assessing learners. It could even be oral for the auditory learners. That is number two. Thirdly, you can monitor the academic performance of your learners. Identify persistent learning difficulties. If you have a learner who is struggling with reading, you can only get to identify that as a teacher if you do individualized teaching. You know that, oh, I gave this child a paragraph the other day and they were unable to read. So if I give it to them today, if I give the same paragraph, they're going to fail again. So are you able to make those modifications to support these learners to outgrow some learning challenges? So this can only be done if a teacher monitors keenly their academic performances. They have to record those activities that they mark, the exercises they give in their classrooms. They need to have ledgers where they record the outcome of those activities so that they are able to identify where the learner is struggling. And then last but not least, the teacher has to have strategies to engage learners. Now, this is what we've been doing at Opportunity International. We are advocates of best practices. So we have a teacher mentorship program that most of the attendees of this webinar have been engaged in and have benefited from. So we teach teachers on how to engage their learners using strategies like turn and talk, cold call, and also supporting them in behavior, using strategies like signal, pause, and insist to support them, and also using signals. So with that, engagement of learners is a very key area to help the teacher identify patterns in their learners. Over to you, Tosin.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Jacqueline. That was really profound. I'm learning a lot of things from you. Thank you so much. All right. So the next question that I have here is very interesting, and I really would love every participant to actually engage with this question, right? And this question goes to Miss Perry Skalukid. If you can hear me, please unmute yourself. Be ready to answer this question. We would like to learn from your experience. Yeah. So here's the question. We would like you to explore the role of peers, parents, and the wider community in advancing inclusive education and how schools can leverage on these relationships, because we believe that inclusive education is not just a thing that should be within the school. It should go beyond the school. It should get to the community. Parents should be aware of what inclusive education is. So how do we explore this role of peers, parents, and also the wider community so that inclusive education can actually be it won't be something that is limited to schools alone, right? Is something that the parents are aware of, and something the community are also aware of, and schools can leverage on the relationship that they have with these stakeholders. Over to you, Ms. Perry Kaluki.
Thank you, Tosin, and apologies for that hiccup. So what is the role of the school, peers, parents, and community in general when it comes to inclusive education? So inclusive education is a shared responsibility. So teachers play a key role, but they cannot do it alone. So schools, peers, parents, and the wider community all have a part to play in ensuring that every learner is included, supported, and given an opportunity to succeed. So let's start with school. What is our role? So schools set the tone for inclusion. They have a responsibility to create a welcoming and inclusive environment where every learner feels safe, valued, respected, and supported to participate. So when schools embrace inclusion, it sends a powerful message that every learner belongs here. And what is the role of the peers? Peers create a sense of belonging through strategies such as talent talk, buddy systems, peer tutoring, and group activities. And where learners support one another to learn, and especially the gifted learners where they are supporting the time takers on how to master the concepts that they might be experiencing challenge in, and also while developing kindness, respect, empathy, and acceptance. So sometimes the support that helps a learner to feel included does not come from the teacher alone, but also from the classmates sitting beside them. So what is the role of the parents? So parents are child's first teacher. They have valuable knowledge about their child's strengths, needs, interest, and behavior and development. So their role is to reinforce fast learning at home, share information with teachers, and work closely with the schools. They also ensure that they support and learning to continue beyond the classroom. So when teachers and parents and partner and work together, we understand the learner better, and we are able to support them better because we have the information that we need from the appropriate people. And then the last group is the wider community. How does the community come in to support inclusive education? The community extends inclusion beyond the school gates. Community members, local organization, health workers, religious institution, and other professionals can provide expertise in terms of looking at the community. Our community is very rich in terms of expertise and skills. We can invite a retired teacher, a doctor, a nurse, a psychologist to come and speak to our teachers about inclusive strategies. And other professionals can also provide expertise, resources, and referrals, and additional support to learners and their families. So the community also plays a role in promoting positive attitude towards disability and diversity, and also encouraging every child to attend, participate, and feel accepted in school. So inclusion becomes stronger when the whole community sees every child as capable, valuable, and deserving of an opportunity to learn. So when schools, peers, and parents and the wider community work together, we create an inclusive classroom, a community where every learner feels valued, they feel like they belong, and every child is supported, and where every learner has an opportunity to reach their full potential. Thank you. Back to you, Tosin.
Yeah, thank you so much, Miss Perry. So what you just said now actually is so profound and very insightful. And I'm saying this simply because what you said, your last statement actually corroborates with what Dr. Innocent Masengo used to say. He would say that no school is a social enterprise that should exist on its own without interacting with the wider community. And that's to say that there should always be an interaction between the school and the community. And when we talk about inclusive education, then we know that there is really a need for schools to actually interact with the community because they are part of the stakeholders of the school. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really profound. All right. At this point, we would like to take a brief pause for another quick poll. And I would like you to check your screen again and take 1 minute to complete another poll. And once you're done completing this poll this time around, kindly type done in the chat box so we know that you are ready to proceed. So there's a poll showing on your screen right now. If you can see it, kindly complete this poll. And once you're done, type done in the chat box so that we can proceed. I need to know, okay, I need to know if you can also see the poll. I can see it on my screen. So what you need to do is to just select the answer, right? After selecting the answer, then you tap on the forward arrow next to it. Oh, good, good, good. So okay, I guess some persons are still having issues completing the poll. We're going to proceed, and our technical team are going to attend to you on that. So you are just meant to see the poll on your screen, but I guess you're having some issues seeing it. So the technical team are going to attend to you. All right. So sorry if you can't see it. So let's continue, please. All right. The next question that I have goes to Miss Jacqueline. Yes, this is really interesting. Miss Jacqueline, would like you to help us highlight examples of low-cost or no-cost adaptation that have improved learning outcomes for diverse learners. If you can hear me, you can unmute yourself. Okay, good, 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 good. So I'll say the question again. We want you to help us highlight examples of low-cost or no-cost adaptations that have helped improve learning outcomes for diverse learners. Over to you. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Tosin. Low cost or no cost. These are quite many, actually. They're quite many, but I would like to focus on a few, mentioning the adaptation and how it can support learners. So on the initial stages of the webinar, I mentioned that flexible seating arrangements support a lot And this does not cost any money, yeah? So this supports learners with vision, hearing, or attention difficulties to sit where they learn best. So what's the outcome of this? There is improved participation and concentration of all learners. And Paris mentioned that the BADE system, peer support, most times we learn from our friends better than we learn from the adult. So this has no cost at all, but it supports the learners who need support to get it from fellow learners who are able to provide it. So this supports learners by increasing their confidence. It supports social inclusion. It also makes improvement or progress on their academic achievement. And then thirdly, there is differentiated instruction. So on our TMPD or teacher mentorship program, we support teachers on lesson planning. So differentiated instruction supports a teacher. It's where a teacher varies or brings in different teaching methods according to the learner's abilities. So usually we have 3 attainment levels. We have the low achievers, we have the mediocres, and then we have the high achievers. So when the teacher is planning the activity for the lesson later on, they differentiate the activities that learners should do in those different abilities, levels, attainment levels. This helps the learner to understand concepts at their own level. So with time, the low achievers level up with the mediocres, and the mediocres also level up with the high achievers. This has been noted to improve academic prowess. And then teachers also should use what we call the multisensory teaching, where teachers ride on our 5 senses to teach. They ride on seeing, on hearing, on touching, on moving, and also discussion concepts. Why? This provides the learner with better retention and also engages the learners because you're now using their best way of learning. Because in general, we all have 3 ways to learn. There are visual learners, there are the kinesthetic learners, and then we have the auditory learners. So when you focus on using the senses, the children are more engaged and they are bound to retain. And last but not least, their classroom routines. Teachers should have classroom routines and they should be consistent with their classroom routines. Classroom routines include classroom rules where the teacher explains to the learners exactly what they want them to do. All these are provided in our teacher mentorship sessions, and I am happy if the cohort that we are discussing with is reaping from what we taught their teachers. Anyway, back to classroom routines. Ensure that all your teachers have a routine for their classroom. This will support them manage behavior in their class, and it will reduce challenges, and it will increase independence amongst all learners. Okay, and then to wind up this, teachers should adopt in their assessment. I talked about it in the previous discussion, but I'm bringing it back here. They should have various ways of assessing learners to support learners with diverse needs to feel valued and also not to be left out because we only have handwritten assessments. This supports learners, all learners, to demonstrate their knowledge in different ways. Thank you. Over to you, Tosin.
Yeah, thank you so much. I know I'm learning a lot from you, Miss Jacqueline. You made mention of something that is really awesome. You talked about ensuring that learners learn with their 5 senses. So it means when teachers are planning for their lessons, they are aware that their learners that would learn, I mean, just their learners with diverse needs in their classroom. So for those that would learn by feeling, by hearing, and by seeing. So all of these are considered while they are planning the lesson. So it actually tells me that inclusion actually starts before the teacher enters into the classroom. Inclusion actually comes in the planning stage. That's really fantastic. Thank you so much, Miss Jacqueline. Yes, I have a follow-up question for you. And here's the question. I would like you to reflect on some common challenges in implementing inclusive education and propose realistic and context-based solutions. As school leaders, the educators on this call, they want to know that there are so many challenges. Okay, so help us highlight some of these challenges and how can they implement inclusive education, knowing that there are challenges. How can they implement this inclusive education that we're talking about? We'll also like you to propose some realistic and context-based solutions. Over to you.
All right, thank you, Tosin. Adopting inclusive learning environments it's not difficult, although it's not very, very easy. So we already have challenges that seem to be fighting inclusion. However, these are some of the common challenges that we have at our schools. The first big challenge is that one of having big amounts of learners, a big classroom. You have big classrooms, and then the teacher is saying, how am I going to do all the things you're telling me to do when my class is this big? The teacher can have groups. We used to call it scaffolding. And even in our teacher mentorship sessions, we encourage teachers to do this, where a teacher can create groups. It could be, they could be mixed up, or they could be according to attainment levels. And in these groups, the teacher is able to support learners, while learners also are able to support each other. So large classrooms, create groups, and promote peer supporting programs. And then teachers or school leaders, kindly do not give up on your teachers. Continuous professional development is very key in building an inclusive environment in your schools. So when you empower your teachers through continuous professional development and encourage them to collaborate, do things like planning together, do things like making visual aids together, and support your teachers to collaborate with the parents to bring in these recyclable materials, to be able to support the teacher and empower the teacher into knowing how to manage an inclusive classroom. The teacher mentorship program does this, but also at a private, if need be, if you feel like, yeah, my teachers need more than these 2 hours that we have, that the education specialist is doing with them, kindly go ahead and have refresher trainings. I encourage you to also go ahead and attend these sessions so that you can also empower yourself as a leader, so that you can support your teachers. Most times teachers have negative attitudes because there is limited awareness. Most teachers can boldly tell you that for them, they don't have inclusive class.
All right. If you can still hear Miss Jacqueline, can you drop a message in the chat box so I can know you can still hear Miss Jacqueline? And if you can hear, can you drop a message in the chat box? Like, oh, good. Okay. So, well, I think she's having issues with her network. So, okay. While okay. So this is what we're going to do. I think I'm going to call on Miss Perry to help us wrap up this conversation on this discussion. Miss Perry, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself. Please, if you can hear me, unmute yourself so I can know that you can hear me. So I just want you to share just a few things with us on how to reflect on the common challenges in implementing inclusive education. And also, you can also help us propose some realistic context-based solutions. Probably some of the things that Ms. Jacqueline didn't mention. Yeah, over to you.
Thank you so much, Tosin. I think I'm going to proceed from where Jacqueline left. And
Okay.
These challenges, I want to believe that they cut across Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania. They are just common challenges that we face as teachers,
Oh,
and
yes.
that prevent us from extensively practicing inclusive strategies in our school. So
Yes.
want to talk about the large class sizes. In overcrowded classrooms, it can be very difficult for a teacher to give every learner in attention. So what do we do as a teacher? Use strategies like peer tutoring, cooperative learning, and small group activities so that learners can support one another while the teacher provides targeted support where she's most or he is most needed, especially for the learners that need that additional individual support. So we try to enhance and practice cooperative learning. And when it comes to negative attitude and stigma, these attitudes come from either teachers, even from learners, from the families and the communities, especially towards learners that are maybe living with disabilities, or maybe learners that are experiencing difficulties when it comes to learning. And when those learners feel like they are not supported and valued in the classroom, also to have a negative attitude education and even towards the teacher. So what do? We need to make sure that we promote a culture of respect, inclusion by celebrating every learner's strength, and also teaching empathy and addressing stigma through creating awareness to our learners, to our parents and communities. A parent does not have to feel like, no, I don't belong into this school because my child is gifted differently. They need to feel comfortable. They need to feel welcomed, and they will also cultivate a growth mindset towards their children, despite their ability, despite their learning styles. So another challenge is limited teaching and learning resources. And I usually say that our community is rich of resources. Our classrooms are rich of resources. And when it comes to use of teaching and learning resources, I just want to share an experience. When I was a teacher, the first thing that I used to do during the first week of opening was to call the parents to come with old cartons, plastic bottles. We come together during that first week, and I guide them on how to help me to develop those materials using the local resources that we already have in our classrooms. So the old cartons, the plastic bottles, the sticks, the stones, we can even tell learners to collect sticks and bottle tops and stones on their way to school. So using what you already have, it's very important, and it can feel. The other challenge it's a lack of community, family support or collaboration. And I just want to say that parents and community sometimes fail to support us, not because they don't want to, but because they don't know the how. As teachers, we need to create awareness. They need to know, what is my role when it comes to supporting my child? What am I supposed to do? Another scenario that I can share, I was teaching in PP2 class, and I was teaching them sound articulation. And I tell learners, go practice at home. And the child comes, and when I was asking them, do your parents support you? They were like, no, we were not supported. So I try to reach out to that parent and just want to know why. And they're like, teacher, I don't know how to articulate these sounds. So the challenge was not the parent. We can support them and show them how to support us. You can send like an audio explaining a concept that you want them to, show them how you want them to support their child. You can send a video, a small guide, short guide on how to step by step on if it's reading, which steps do they follow when it comes to reading a story to their learners. So that kind of support and creating that awareness and empowering them to support us. Thank you. Back to you, Tosin. We can't hear you.
Tosin, you're muted.
All right. So sorry about that. So I was saying that I'm learning a lot. Like I've actually learned a lot from you and Jacqueline, and to my participants, I'm asking. I hope you are enjoying the conversation as much as I am, because I am learning a lot from this webinar, and I also would like to know if you're learning some new things. So if you're learning something new, just feel free to drop your learnings in the chat box. I need to know that you're actually engaging with this discussion. So if you're learning new things, you can as well drop some of the things that you've learned from the panelists in the chat box so we can see that. All right. So there's another poll coming up again, and if you can still track your screen now to see another poll coming up. So kindly check your screen. If you can see the poll, just complete it and then type done once you're done. Oh, thank you, John Doe, for dropping your learnings. That's fantastic. Examples of low cost and no cost adaptation. That's fantastic. Yeah. So a poll is already showing on your screen. So kindly complete this poll once you say it. So as soon as you're done completing this poll, kindly drop or kindly write done in the chat box so we can you can type done in the chat box so we can continue. You have just 1 minute to complete the poll. Check your screen. You should see the poll right now on your screen. For those that can't see the poll on your screen, check your chat box. Check your chat box. You should see the poll in the chat box. Then you can complete it there. All right. Okay. We need to proceed because of our time. At this junction, I would like to welcome one of our panelists. I haven't called her since, but now is the time that I'm going to call her. And the person of Mrs. Faustina Agemandua, she is the school leader of Future Dual Schools in Ghana. She has been practicing inclusive education in her school, and she has a lot of experience, a lot of exposures to share with us. So if you can hear me, you can unmute your mic because now is the time that you're going to share your experience with us. We'd like you to share some specific inclusive practices that you've implemented in your school. And after sharing that, you also share the impact of these practices in your school, because I know that you've done a lot in your school. So we'd like to learn from you. Over to you, Mrs. Faustina.
All right, thank you very much, Tosin. Thanks for the opportunity once again. Like I said earlier, I'm excited to be here because my passion is to ensure every child gets quality education. Now, there's a saying that goes that all fingers are not equal. The same thing applies in education. All learners are not equal. However, every learner is supposed to get quality education. That is when inclusive education comes in. Therefore, inclusive education is not anything that has to do with options. It's an obligatory, it's mandatory, it's a priority in every school. Now, some of the strategies when it comes to sustaining inclusive practices and motivating teachers to support learners with diverse needs are intentional planning. You have to be intentional about what you are doing. Now, before you can help a child, you have to identify who the needs of the child. And we can have some of the children who have been diagnosed by a medical doctor or the children who have not been diagnosed. And sometimes looking at the low-income communities, it's quite expensive for them to go for evaluations. So with that, the school has to come with a plan in order to do some of these identification of issues. So what we do as a school is that we do observe our children a lot. So we look at some of the concerns that we have. We look at maybe the child has issue with the sight, hearing, behavior, attention and focus, and sometimes even understanding simple concepts. With such children, what we do is that we communicate with the parents, and the parents will, together with the parents, we draw something we call less individualized educational plan. That is when you are being intentional about what you're going to give the child. If you know the child is having an issue, try to do some checklist and see the needs of the child. And based on the needs of the child, try to plan something for that child. It should also have to be like award improving. It should also help the children. That is positive reinforcement. Where you look at equity. So when you look at a child who has issues with reading, and the child is not able to read a full sentence. If a child is able to read at least one word, we have to give the child positive reinforcement. That is going to help that child in doing that. Now, continuous professional development is something that you don't joke with, because the teachers are implementers. If you don't equip the teachers with the skill needed, whatever you are achieving will be in vain. So we need to continuously make sure our teachers are having training. You can do so. You can have external trainers. You can be coming for these webinars. You can also do something we call peer learning committee, PLC, where the teachers who are very skilled will be able to teach other students or even mentor other students. Peer support of the observation, where teachers can also go to other classrooms and look at what is going on. And based on the observation, then the school leader can sit down and try to help that teacher. We also have to encourage professional learning community, like that's what I said, the PLC, the teacher mentorship program with EduQuality, and also support teachers in lesson planning. If you're a school leader and you have a lot of skills in that, there's no way you can run an effective school when it comes to inclusive education without support with the teachers. Sometimes they are even drained. But when they come to you, you have to encourage them. And if there's something that they need as a school leader, you have to support them with that. So these are some of the strategies that we use when it comes to sustaining inclusive practices. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I'm really learning a lot from you. Okay, there's some points that you gave that I would like you to throw more light in, right? So you had mentioned that all learners are not equal, right? But all learners deserve quality education, right? And you also mentioned intentional planning, like you just have to be intentional. So I would like you to, when you talk about intentional planning, there are a lot of things that go into intentional planning. So from your experience, I would like you to give us scenarios explaining scenarios of how your teachers are intentional about inclusive education in your school, then some of your practices, right, in supporting your teachers in doing this, in planning and also implementing inclusive education.
Okay,
Over
thank
to
you very
you.
much.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
with our school, the implementation of inclusive education has to do with learning materials and the lesson plans. We also have staff support and staff training. Parental involvement is also very important when it comes to inclusive education. Classroom management is also very important, making sure that you have children, when you have children with diverse needs, the classroom arrangement, the visual boards, all those things plays an important role in student management, in inclusive education. And then also student orientation, orienting the students in the class about the importance of embracing other children who come from different environments or has different learning abilities. Now, sometimes you told me to give an example of how we implement certain things. Now, I can give an example of a child that we realized it was like a pattern. All the time, we realized that the child was finding it difficult to read. It's like a year or two, the child was trying. We did everything a school can do, all the strategies. Then what we did was to communicate to the parents, to do a checklist and look at what the problem is. After the checklist, we're able to identify that maybe the child has issue with dyslexia. And the teacher, the parents, and ourselves, we came together and we had a simple plan where we let the child not go with the other students in the class. For example, if maybe the students are reading, the boy is going to school. that child has issue reading, we are not going to let that child read that one. We are going to let the child know how to read cat, that is cat. And we are going to break those things into chunks. If we take like 2 weeks to teach other children, we are going to take like 3 or 4 weeks because the memory of the child is very, very short. So we always have to reinforce and repeat it so that the child can retain that kind of knowledge. And then after we did that thing, the parents took the child to a specialist. And it came out that the child has issues when it comes to reading. And based on the recommendation of the specialist, we had something like I said earlier, an individualized education plan. We call it IEP. And with that plan, we had a target every term that we have for that child. So if the children are learning a particular lesson plan, that child is also learning a different lesson plan. And we realized that every term, the improvement of the child, it becomes higher and higher. And the child was very confident, and the child had a lot of zeal to come to school, and the child is doing very well in class now. So this is an example of inclusive learning that I can share with you.
Hello, your mic is off. Tosin, your mic is off.
Oh, so
You've turned it off again.
yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes,
we can hear you.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, perfect. So it's actually interesting to know that you're still corroborating some of the things that our former speaker said, which is you're working with parents of these kids that actually needs diverse needs, right? And you also made mention of your IEP, that's individualized education. What's that again? Individualized what?
Education plan.
Plan,
Individualized
yes.
education plan. IEP,
Individualized education plan. Okay, so I don't know, but I'm actually speaking on behalf of participants. Like, can you just probably give us a walkthrough of this IEP, individualized education plan? Can you give us a walkthrough, because I'm sure they are asking already that what does this IEP look like, because they will also like to have that in their schools.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Tosi. So it's a document. It's a document that outlines the plan for the child for a particular year based on the needs of the child. So based on the needs of the child, if you realize that the child is struggling with, let's say, reading, we are now going to plan something for the child. Let's say for this term, our focus will be the child to be able to read 4-letter words, depending on the age of the child or the capacity of the child, or 3-letter words with some sight words. So with that, we had a plan. Now, on a weekly basis, we know what we are going to teach the child for the whole term. The teacher is going to use that particular plan to teach the child. At the end of the term, what we do is that on a monthly basis, we assess the child based on what we have taught the child. And at the end of the term, we also assess the child. And if the child was able to reach the 4-letter words that we set by the beginning of the term, that means that we have achieved our goal with that child. Now, the next term, what we are going to do is to try to set a target for ourselves again. It's a document. It outlines all those things. That the next term, because the child has been able to read 4-letter words, we'll be looking at the child reading 5 or 6-letter words. So that is also a plan for that child within that term. The following term, we try to go further. So that is the plan for a particular child. Or if this child is just a document, and the document has to be approved by the specialist or the parents, the specialist, the parents of the child, and the teacher. It's like a team. We all come together as a team and prepare that document. And after the end of the term, we now review the document and see whether we are successful with it. If you're not successful, it means that next time you have to repeat the same thing. So it's just a document that outlines the plan for the child. The review, the assessment, everything is applied. And the document is signed by the parent, the school head, the teacher, and if there's a therapist or a professional in the therapist or the professional also sign that document. So that document is going to be like a guide for the child, but a particular child who needs an intervention. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mrs. Faustina. So one last question that I have, I don't know, I know some of our participants might have some questions to ask you directly since you've been implementing, inclusive education in your schools. But my final question is this, and I know you mentioned that teachers are implementers, right? And
Yes,
school
please.
leaders can't joke with teachers' professional development, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you give us some examples of professional development that you've given to your teachers, and how often do you train your teachers on inclusive education?
Thank you very much. As a school leader, like I said, my passion is to ensure every child has quality education. So as a school leader, I also have done a lot of education and inclusive education, and I pass it on to my teachers. We have PLC where I pass it on, and we have some teachers. Every training that I go on, I make sure I come along my teachers. So we have most all the teachers in the school that has gone through those kind of training. So we have a lot of webinars. We have organization like African Dyslexia Organization that provides a lot of trainings for when it comes to inclusive education. We have a lot of educational groups that you can join these workshops. Sometimes they are paid workshops, sometimes they are free workshops. And quality opportunity also has a leadership training where they train us on school inclusive education. So yeah, there are a lot of avenues, I mean, inclusiveness is an issue in Africa, and I'm glad that most African countries are making inclusive a priority now. So yeah, a lot of options. We have webinars, we have workshops, we have even information online. I mean, there's no excuse now. You can even go to ChatGPT. He will give you everything that you desire. Then we also have groups, the leadership group within communities. You can also seek advice from those ones. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So you can just hang in there for now, Ma. So it's time for us to ask questions. Like I said earlier, if you have questions, please type your questions in the Q&A icon at the top of your screen if you are using a laptop, and if you're using your phone, I think you should see that at the lower part of your screen. If you have any question for our panelists, please type your questions there. So for now, I think I can see a question, just one question at the moment, and let me quickly read that out. So for this particular question, I'll be calling on Miss Perry. Yeah, Miss Perry, if you can hear me, you can unmute yourself. You will be answering this question for us. So the first question I am seeing here is this. Okay. Miss Perry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Tosin.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right. All right. Thank you. So the question is this: the local resources for supporting disabilities is insufficient, and teachers are required to use extra time for integrating them into learning sessions. So what strategies can teachers use to integrate learners with disabilities?
Thank you, Tosin, and that question is very important. I want to believe that limited resources and limited teacher time are real challenges that we are currently facing, particularly in large classrooms. So, however, inclusion does not mean that the teacher has to prepare and deliver a completely separate lesson for a learner with a disability. The aim is to make the same learning experience accessible to that learner with a reasonable adjustment based on their individual needs. So there are several strategies and ways that we can try and implement in our lesson when we are delivering our lessons as teachers to accommodate diverse learning needs in our classrooms. And one is a flexible seating, what Jacqueline talked about, positioning a learner with hearing or visual difficulties closer to the teacher or maybe closer to the board. And another way is presenting learning in different ways. We understand that in our classrooms are diverse. We have different learning style. We have visual learners, we have auditory learners, kinesthetic learners, and learners with different learning ability. So as a teacher, when you're planning for your lesson, you need to consider these different learning styles and abilities in your class. And make sure that you're planning, how are you going to reach the auditory learners? By explaining, encouraging group discussions. And what about the visual learners? Learners who learn best when they see things. You're going to use drawings, you're going to use pictures, you're also going to use gestures, and also for the kinesthetic learners or tactile learners, they learn best through doing hands-on activities. We need to include practical activities for them to participate in, so that we ensure that we are accommodating everyone, and this benefits the learner with a disability and learner with a learning difficulty, while also supporting the rest of the class. And the last strategy that I want to share is the ways learners demonstrate understanding. I want to believe that in our classrooms, learners, when they master a concept, they demonstrate understanding of that concept in different ways. There, for example, a learner might respond orally or point to an answer or a or demonstrate the skill depending on their needs. So there are learners who will explain that concept by speaking, talking. Others will explain it better by demonstrating, drawing, role playing. So we need to include all those strategies when we are checking for understanding. Thank you, and back to you, Tosin.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss Perry. That was really profound. Thank you so much. Yeah, I have a question for Miss Jacqueline already. Miss Jacqueline, if you can hear me, can you unmute your mic?
I hear you, Tosin.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. All right. So here's the question. My participants are asking that they would like you to give them some examples of how to celebrate the strength of learners in a class. And what can you also do for a slow learner? I mean, like, how can you also encourage slow learners to also do better?
Okay, teachers need to learn how to celebrate their learners. Not necessarily having to give them sweets or high five, or but it still can be simple things. For example, a teacher can design small certificates. We used to call them Star of the Week, My Star of the Week. So a teacher can celebrate a learner who has progressed in behavior, a learner who has progressed in an aspect that they have been struggling with, a learner who has improved in a specific subject, a learner who has improved in concentration. We don't only have to celebrate academic prowess. Cut out small manillas and just mention that this learner is my star of the week for probably concentrating well in a math, in addition. Okay, my star of the week on behavior is, let's say, Jacqueline. She has spent this week without fighting with anyone. So they're giving small certificates, and those certificates are going to be taken to heart by the learners. Number two, teachers can also schedule to make phone calls to the parents of the learners. This used to work magic for us for the older learners, and it would make them feel very, very proud when their parent receives a phone call that such and such a learner has maybe progressed in their multiplication tables. This learner has been a great example. This learner has led cleaning in the classroom. So for the simple tasks, you can make a phone call to the parents of the learner to let them know that their child is progressing. And number three, the teacher needs to create a rewarding system. We used to call them house points. Now, these points would contribute to the overall performance of a house. We have different sports houses. It could be something. It could be other reasons for other things, other let's say you have different uniforms, but for us, we used to add them on sports. So on top of behaviors, for a class to be the winner in sports, I beg your pardon, on top of sports, for a class to win a sporting tournament, there should be behavior according to each learner in every classroom. So on the day of sports, we'd collect the house points and also populate them on top of the sports activities. This supports learners in behaving properly. It also encourages learners with discipline challenges to follow along learners with good behavior because they know it is going to affect their house points. And then last but not least, school leaders, you can also invite a dinner or a lunch with a student who has made progress. Some students get discouraged because even their simple effort, or their much effort. Sometimes it may be easy for a learner to just come to school on time or wake up or do a task on time. But then there are those learners who struggle with completing a task on time. So if this learner has really completed tasks on time and the teacher has, continuously praised them, has continuously made reports on progress of this specific learner, kindly schedule to have at least a lunch with the director. It means a lot to those learners. Thank you. Over to you, Tosin.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jacqueline. Thank you for sharing all of this with us. Okay. So I have one question for Mrs. Faustina. If you can hear me, our participants have a question for you. So if you can hear me, you can unmute your mic. Oh, good.
Yes,
Good.
Tosin, I'm here. Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. So, so this person is asking that in their schools, right, they have some parents who are still in denial about their children's disability. And to once you advise them to have some placement assessments or any form of assessment, they don't accept. How have you observed this kind of parents in your school? I mean, have you encountered any kind of parent like this in your school? And how did you deal with such cases?
Yeah, sure. You always have parents who are in denial. Yes. But as educators, that is no excuse to just leave that child there. So like I said, in cases like that, I said before, we have the ones that are diagnosed and the ones that are undiagnosed. So with the undiagnosed one, with our knowledge about special education, we try to identify the needs of that child. When we identify the needs of that child, the school will prepare a special plan, the IEP for that child.
IEP, okay.
Yes. Then we communicate to the parents that, mom or dad, this is the issue we are having with your child. Maybe your child has this kind of issues. This is how we want to help your child. If the parents agree, then we start using that plan. And we also let the parents in the house also help us so that continuity of learning will also continue in the house. Then when we look at the progress and we realize it's helping the child, we try to keep that particular plan. And most of the time, when parents realize that it's really helping the child, they are forced to go for the medical evaluation. So if the fact that the parents are in denial does not mean you should leave the child. It does not mean, like I said, every child has the right for quality education. As a school, you should have a system in place to help the children whose parents are in denial. When these parents see that there's an improvement in their children's academics, behavior, or any issue with the child, they will do whatever it takes to take the child for medical evaluation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. In a nutshell, it means that even when parents are in denial, then the school should not leave the child alone. I think there should be some programs that they can actually put the child through. And when parents are seeing some changes, then they would actually come for more support. Okay, good. Thank you so much. I think I just have just one more question because of our time. I'm going to pick just one more question. And this question goes to Miss Perry. Miss Perry, I would like to hear your thought on this. Oh, sorry. It goes to Miss Jacqueline. I think it should be a follow-up question for Jacqueline. Okay, so Jacqueline, if you can hear me, I know we've been talking about inclusive education, but there are some children that are gifted and they are susceptible to exclusion, right? So we'd like you to share with us. I mean, how do you include these children that are gifted? So because most times teachers just leave them. It's okay, fine. Oh, I know you can read it. Go ahead and read it. Answer the questions. When they are attending to order, they can say, okay, fine. I know you've done it. I mean, they just leave these kids because they are gifted. So how do we still include them, or should we say that they are not part of the children that we're including?
No, inclusion is for everyone. So when I was still teaching, we'd categorize them as the gene and tonic. So we have gifted learners, and most times when the teacher ignores them or keeps giving them simple tasks, they get bored, or they often disrupt the class, or they often do something that is not going with the class. Huh? So this is what we used to do. It takes back the teacher to individual teaching, and also it takes them back to planning extensively for these learners. So the teacher needs to plan during differentiation. The teacher needs to plan to extend their gifted learners. They need to have tasks that will challenge the child, often beyond their learning grade. So this keeps the child in the know of what is coming, but also supports them to learn more and use their gift better. So it is really incumbent on the teacher to identify this learner and plan for them accordingly. So if they're planning a lesson or something, let's say they are planning a lesson on long division. If it is dividing 3 against 1, then they should try them on 4 against 1. So they should plan a challenge for gifted learners. That's what I used to do, and it used to work wonders. So periodically, we would also assess them on a match a little bit, which is a little bit more advanced for their classroom. So we could also make recommendations that, oh, this child is gifted and is ready for such and such a class after observation, after extension, and after doing all due diligence as a teacher. Thank you. Over to you, Tosin. You're muted, Tosin. We can hear you. You're muted.
So sorry about that. I'm really excited about this conversation. Okay, so inclusion is also for the gifted children. Yes, inclusion is for the gifted children also. All right. Okay, so I would like to share with everyone on this call that this session is recorded. So if you've missed anything in any way, you're still going to receive the recorded version of this webinar. So we'll be sending it to your email since you're registered. So you don't have to worry about anything. We'll be sharing the recorded version with you. All right. Now we need to bring this meeting to a close. But before we do that, there is a survey that will be dropped in the chat box. So I would like you to check your chat box for the survey because we really would like your feedback on this webinar. So if you can hear me, kindly check the chat box so you can take few minutes to complete the survey that has been shared in the chat box. Your feedback is really important. We really consider your feedback important to us because it will help us to improve future EduQuality alumni webinars and also ensure that we continue to meet your professional learning needs. So kindly fill the survey as soon as you see them. So, okay, I'm checking. If you can see the survey, please let me know. And if you're done completing a survey, please let me know so that we can bring the meeting to a close. So kindly take few minutes to complete the survey. The link has been shared already. The link has been shared in the chat box, so kindly fill the survey. Okay, now some people are already done filling the survey. Okay, good, 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 good. Check your chat box. There's a link that has been dropped there. There's a link there's for you to click on. When you tap on the link, it will take you to a survey to complete. So kindly fill the survey. Oh, submitted. Okay, okay. Okay. So this brings us to the end of today's webinar. Thank you so much, everybody. We are so glad to have you join us. I strongly want to believe that we've learned one or two things from today's webinar. We hope to do more of this webinar, and we hope to have you join so that we can learn, and we can also have we'll be having a lot of professionals join us to share their experiences with us so as to improve our community of practices in our schools. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you so much. You can have a blessed day. Or before we go, I would like to hand over to Agnes. Over to you, Agnes.
I didn't expect this call, but thank you so much for the time. I want to extend my sincere appreciation to all the school leaders that have joined us today. My name is Agnes. The School Networks and Alumni Associate who has been mobilizing you over the last few months. I'm really excited that we've started off this webinar so strongly. Thank you so much to everybody who has mobilized the community of practice committees that have gone ahead to invite several schools. Thank you so much for the work well done. We've been able to get over 900 schools register for this, so they will all receive the webinar recording and of course the notes, and we'll be sharing with you the presentation. I hope and pray that this has been an impactful discussion. We are going to continue the discussions in our national specific community of practice on WhatsApp. Please feel free to share there your learnings, share what you're doing in schools. Feel free to continue the conversation by sharing photos of what you've been able to implement. For those of you that are still part of the Education Quality 3-year core program, you will join these particular communities once you've completed, but we will definitely be inviting you for our webinar series that will happen every month. So our next conversation is going to be on financial sustainability. How do we run schools as a profitable business within the different countries that we are operating in? Please endeavor to look out for the ad and of course register and be part of that conversation. For now, we say asante, mwebale nnyo, and tusentak, and I'm trying to look for the Nigeria version. I'll leave it to Tosin, but thank you so much and look out for the next webinar. Over to you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Do have a blessed day. Thank you so much. All right. Bye. You can, okay.